What's up, guys? This is just saying Lore. We're going to be talking about some news about Frostpunk's potential DLC, some other things that I dug up on the internet. For our first topic, we're going to talk about the Book of Laws. Let's get into it quickly. So, the Book of Laws has been one of the most integral features of Frostpunk, and it's very powerful if used properly by the right captain. So let's get into some of the things that could end up changing. But before I even talk about that, there are some other little details I just want to throw into the fire. So there is going to be a Linux version. However, it's not yet in the works. They haven't actually started developing it. They've also been working on some new ideas for the Book of Laws. A couple of it was in relation to the Winterhome scenario. However, due to some other conflicting bits and pieces of information, it was left out. But however, they are going to be added into the game according to Jacob. So, in addition to that, they're planning on adding a little more mainstay features. However, they're still waiting on us to actually tell them what they actually think, or what we actually think, I should say, about the new laws and what we would want to actually see them develop. Now, in relation to the vehicles. So, in addition to that, playable vehicles, like something in a mixture of what I've been saying for almost 3 months. So here's a couple of them. A heavy trade snow piercer that connects to your outpost and allows you to get more resources faster and efficiently than a sled team would. So they were working on a trade network system to allow us to get resources from one point to the other much faster. However, this machine or this Snowpiercer might actually be the machine that we see in the Winterhome scenario. Although the Snowpiercer or the heavy train was not labeled, but the heavy train can be found in numerous locations within the Frostland. And if you look on the screen right now, you're going to see something like a radio tower. Now, these radio towers are mainstays around almost every city within the Frostland. You can find them anywhere in any part of the Endless scenario, which states to me that they must have been used as some form of means of communication and could eventually have some gameplay features later on down the line. Some new scenarios are in the works. However, nothing has been, released to concrete as yet, but they're still working on it. Generator types. There has been no actual details about that, but I saw a concept art of another advancement onto the generator tower itself. However, I can't show that here right now, but potentially that could be something else that would be a bit interesting, like a little bit of an upgrade to handle much higher temperatures. But they haven't actually worked out the full details about the information related to developing of that. The mere fact that they're even thinking about working on other vehicles and other types of entities, playable entities that could be created, is a sign that we will get a replacement for the outpost teams within the Endless scenario, because they are still there. However, due to the mechanics of the Endless scenario and the continuous sweeping storm, there needs to be a more advanced team that can actually deal with those kinds of issues in terms of weather and gathering resources and then transporting it back. So I did a playthrough the other day and managed to reach at least day 40 something. I got a little rusty over the other day, so you'd notice that the other cities I built might not have gone through, but This one in the creator in Endless has actually managed to succeed and is as a bustling fledgling town city. So with that in regard, I can safely say that, going back to it, what these heavy trains or these snow piercers might actually require is some form of coal to actually function. So each time it leaves the city, you have to give it a certain amount of resources. And if it doesn't get those resources, then in essence, it can't do its job. It can't work, which could be somewhat of a boundary to prevent people from spamming these vehicles. And they could also put a limit on the vehicles, so you can't just spawn 100 of them. Mainstaying ideas of the Book of Laws could be that the Book of Laws could also be used as a means of actually getting people to, sign a legislation that allows you to construct another city or create some form of machinery that would then be researched within the tech tree to allow an excavation type machine to be developed. And that machine would then be produced inside of the city and then shipped out to specific location by a heavy train team, assembled and then used to excavate a large enough area that can then be maintained by some automatons to keep it from being covered over during the storm periods, after which it can then be converted into a new city site. So these city sites will take a longer time to be built. And what could happen is that within the endless scenario, once you build another city, then more refugees or individuals searching for a place to live will somehow start to show up. And then the heavy train could then be used as a means of exchanging resources back and forth between the cities. And just like the scouts, you could have an upgrade tree associated with it that allows you to increase the speed, increase the capacity, because we know that the vehicle within Winterhome was capable of carrying 5,000 coal at a time or even more, at least 10 steam cores along with individuals. So what could happen similar to Anno is that the train could actually carry workers from one city to the other, and one city could be more of like a habitable area and the other one could be the workstation. And so, you could have pipes and so forth being constructed or a pipe system to run steam across. However, you'd need a certain amount of power from said generator in other city to fuel the new generator in the city that's already built. So those complicated systems could actually be implemented. If you notice, what I said a while ago was a combination of using the Book of Laws and the tech tree in order to research certain technologies. Or they could do like what they did with the Winterhome scenario, where you basically did majority of the work in terms of the citizens would be the one to actually create the scenario that would allow you to construct said facility. So all of these things could actually be put in, and if they're actually implemented, they could lead to, as I would say, a more dynamic and interesting system. Now, thinking of laws to actually change within the Book of Laws, the first thing is the ability of choice. Choice. Choice in a certain way means that you have the alternative of not just constructing a city of faith, but you have the chance to actually think about whether or not I want to keep child labor as a mainstay within my city. And what does it mean if I removed the child labor law? Does that mean, the children will no longer work? Or are there any consequences to removing this particular law? Some of those things might actually be necessary to actually get things running properly. So with those things being thought of and implemented, it would be interesting to see what would actually happen if, when we have the Book of Laws working, people actually, decide to repeal the law related to faith, and they're like, okay, so I have this city, but I honestly don't want to keep my city being a faith city, I want to try some new tech. So a mixture of cultures gives people, not cultures of purpose, gives a more realistic identification with society, and it can allow for more unique gameplay to take place. But for that to happen, certain mechanics and certain systems might have to communicate with each other on a equally balanced level. However, it would be yet to see if the developers could actually do such a thing, combining both elements, allowing the construction of more unique and interesting uh, buildings, or having a twist on them where faith and the dictatorship can actually be intertwined, creating something even more unique and even more powerful. As you know, most of the buildings give you buffs, but faith, however, is the strongest within the Book of Law system that gives you the most out of your use of that, which is very intriguing because the order system requires a lot more buildings versus the faith requiring few buildings, resulting in less detention of individuals and more of a belief system and convincing and understanding. And I've also noticed that when individuals enter the city who are non-believers, the inhabitants usually look down on them in scorn. So it's more of a realistic interpretation of society that I can actually work along with. However, new laws and new vehicles like a Snowpiercer would actually be a welcome mainstay within the franchise, or I wouldn't say franchise, within the game system itself. So the Endless is a playground. The Endless itself could be a playing ground for 11-bit studios to develop even more unique technologies and explore various types of facilities, mechanisms, and all sorts of other things. Because the mere fact that you have so many radio towers actually appearing around the city every time you leave the city, these radio towers could serve a much bigger purpose within the game's systems in terms of, okay, let me communicate with the outside world, or I'm going to send a signal to another area within the Frostland to see if somebody will actually respond back to me, reach out to me, and get a team heading in my direction. And I could probably rescue a squad of people, and they'll tell me, hey, I'm from New London. Would you like to exchange resources? If so, please let us know. We'll send you some Steam cores. Could you construct this facility for us? We build that. We build a Steam core production plant in another area or a smaller outpost type crater that is near to the main city. And that could be a staging area that we could visit. So we could build snowpiercers, land dreadnoughts, and all sorts of special machinery within that area. And it could also be a habitable zone that is powered by the main generator or said second generator within another small outpost type location near to said main city, creating a much more reasonable and equally balanced trading system. A maximum of approximately 4 to 5 cities within one particular region would be intriguing, and if possible in the DLC, adding the ability to reach out to other regions or having a global type view with regions would also make the game a bit more interesting, requiring you to actually do a little less and just, well, I wouldn't say a little less, a lot more, but it makes your world more immersive and more interesting and intriguing. And it keeps you playing longer because the main fact is you won't be able to achieve these things immediately. It will take you losing people, trying techniques, failing, and going at it again. However, we are yet to see them actually implement any of these things that I've just mentioned here. I'll keep talking in the suggestion area. And, if you come across this video later on, give me a shout in the comments and I'll respond back to you as soon as possible. I'll see you guys around.